I had a cousin that showed me a very simple card trick. It was just a key card, and then he put the cards, and then he did a glide, a very simple glide. He wasn't a magician, but he knew that those two things, and then put some cards between my fingers and slapped it, and all the cards fell, and the one remaining. I still think that's a fantastic trick, and that kind of got me interested. And I bought some trick decks of cards first, but sleight of hand really started when I got one of Di Vernon's books at a local auction. They were auctioning off some books at my local magic club when I first started at the magic club, and it was a revelation. All this sleight of hand and thinking. I never thought you had to think about magic and just buy magic, but Di Vernon thought about his magic, and it started me on a new path. And from then on, it was only books and sleight of hand. I love it. Sure, well, everybody does, and I've got more than one. I never believe that anybody should have just one mentor or one hero. I had so many different people, and people are good at different things. This person is very creative, but they're not technically good, or this person's technically good, but they're not entertaining, or this person, so on and so forth. So, of course, Di Vernon was one of the first, and then Tony Slidini, and probably, John Ramsey. Probably my biggest influence besides Di Vernon was Michael Skinner, who was just absolutely perfect. And he had a huge repertoire, and he did everything perfectly. He practiced everything every day. He had a list, and he carried it around with him all the time. So if he was in a coffee shop and having some coffee or something, he'd take out the list and he'd practice those tricks, and not just practicing for his technique, but saying, what else could I add to the presentation, or what subtleties could I use, or constantly polishing and improving things. He was real, and he was a really terrific guy too. Well, I guess everybody was competing at FISM, so I decided to compete for FISM. I did it a couple times, and one thing I'd recommend if anybody wants to compete at FISM, don't try to come up with a completely new routine to fool the magicians. Just the routine that you already do, and do it lots of times for regular people. Polish it, get it commercial, and if you have a polished routine and you take it to FISM and do it, you have a very good chance of winning a prize or being one of the best persons there. But if you take a big chance in front of all those people and the judges, something new, it's probably not a very good idea. And a couple times I did that. A couple times I said, well, I've never done this before. I'm just going to do this, and maybe worked on it in the month, 2, 3 months before. And that's not enough to polish it. You have to do it in front of people. And typically, I feel like I have to do a routine in front of people at least 50 times to work out most of the problems. And then I don't really feel like it's part of my working repertoire until I've done it 100 times in front of people. And then it's pretty set. But sometimes I don't even make it to 100. After 50, I go, I don't like the presentation. I don't know how to fill this spot or whatever. And it kind of drifts away. But if it makes it to 100, it stays in my repertoire. I don't get too nervous under most situations. The only two situations I get nervous under are when it's brand new material, and that makes me nervous. So like the first dozen times I try it, I'm pretty nervous if it's going to work, is the thread going to break, or this or that. And the other is when the conditions are terrible, which happens quite a bit. If you do magic professionally, somebody hires you and you show up and you're in some office and you're surrounded and there's mirrors behind you and there's noise and a band and this. So those situations make me nervous, but otherwise I feel pretty confident, especially if I'm doing my regular material. Since the pandemic started, I haven't performed now for a year, and I open my closet and I go, oh my God, I haven't touched any of this stuff in a year. And I got out a couple things, and things that I've done thousands of times, like the Miser's Dream or something. I started doing it and I go, is that in this hand or this hand? Do I go to this pocket or that pocket? What do I say here? So I have to rehearse again, or my first few performances are going to be a little awkward, just trying to get up to speed. And I'm really going to have to rehearse and maybe look at videos of myself to get it back. Only in the past probably 10 years have I 10, 15 years have I really started writing out my presentations. I never used to do that. I would always just work on the trick and then do it for people. And then, a patter line or something would occur to me, or a joke, somebody would say something, and I'll keep that in. And then over a period of time, it would build into a routine. But these days, I don't want to go on stage if I don't know pretty well what I'm going to say and do. And I even write it out like a script. So, there's what I'm going to say. And then in the middle, in italics, I'll say something like, steal the card, palm it, put it in your pocket, this, that. So later I can go back now and relearn those tricks. And it also helps because it's a computer. I can After a performance, I come home and I look at it on the screen and I go, well, that didn't work, or that should be here. And it's easy on the computer to take it out and put it someplace else, cut and paste. And then I say, that line didn't work. I won't erase it. I'll cut it out and I'll put it way at the bottom and say alternative, because later I might have some way to rephrase it, or a little bit of business or something, and then I can put it back in. But I never throw it away. I put it at the bottom after the whole routine, and so I can always refer to it. I can always add and change, and writing out a script is something relatively new, and it sounds difficult to do, or like maybe too much trouble for a lot of people, but it really, really helps. I said I only get nervous in those two situations, but if I don't have anything to say, that makes me nervous. I've worked out technical tricks very well, so I can do them in my sleep. They flow. There's no problem, but I haven't done them for people. I work on them, work on them, work on them. It's like just no problem at all. But I get in front of people, I don't know what to say, and now I start to get nervous and I lose my place because I'm trying to think, what comes next. It gives you something to hold on to, and it gives you highlights and things to attach the movement to. If you're in a play, you don't just stand in the middle of the stage and recite your lines. You walk over to the fireplace and you say this line. You walk over here and you light your pipe and you say this line. You walk over here and you pour a drink and you say this line. Those things all help you remember where you are in the routine, and they also make it more interesting to watch rather than somebody just standing in one place talking. So there's a lot of tips there. I really try to learn the script, and what I usually do is take it if it's a long script. I'll go on a walk every morning, and I'll have it in my hand, and I'll be talking like this, and then I'll forget something, and then the people around the neighborhood think I'm crazy. But after like 2 or 3 days of going for these long walks and doing this, I don't need the paper anymore. And when I was in some plays, just with no magic, I had a lot of lines and a lot of things to remember. And the way I did that was I recorded all the parts. I like to do different voices and characters and things. So I did all the parts of the play and played all the characters. And then I would leave that space empty where I was supposed to respond. And what's kind of nice about that is when I hear the other character talking to me, I'm actually listening to him, which is very important in acting, to listen to the person, not just waiting for to say your line. But it would help me, remember and respond. So it was like I was rehearsing with other people, which helped quite a bit.